there.
Hi.
So I'm Dr. Robinson.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
And you are?
Eric.
Eric, right. And this is your first time coming in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I talk to people all the time about any issues they're having related to school. So why don't you let me know why you've come in today?
Finals is coming up, and I've always had trouble focusing and have kind of a lot of general anxiety when it comes to taking exams. But now that I'm in grad school, they carry a lot more weight, and so I'm finding it harder and harder to, focus on my exams. Mm-hmm. And I get really anxious, and it's difficult for me to get through a test and feel confident that I'm doing a good job just because I get so distracted and caught up in what I'm taking.
Gotcha. Okay, so you want to improve your test taking by dealing with the anxiety issues? Does that sound?
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think that's great. I'm really glad you came in. And according to your survey, your main issues is sleeplessness and lack of focus, and you just want to deal with this overarching pre-test taking anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think today we'll just work on getting to know each other since this will be our first session. And then we'll go through what you've been experiencing, any symptoms or things that you dislike about what's been going on with you lately. And then maybe we can talk about what you think might be causing that and sort out a plan to deal with that.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. I've never met him before, so whatever you say.
Okay, great. All right then, let's see. Let's just start with your history. Tell me a little bit about your family.
Mom, dad, 2 sisters, little brother, 2 dogs. I don't know. What do you want to know?
Anything that comes to mind. Are they in town, out of town?
My dad lives in the Twin Cities, and my mom, younger sister, or the younger of the 2, and little brother live in town, and then my sister Megan lives and works in Chicago.
Okay, very cool. So you get to see your family that lives in town a bit?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Good. Do you go over there sometimes? Maybe in test week when you're stressed?
Yeah, I guess whenever I have time, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So tell me, what are you studying in school?
Radiology.
Oh, all right. And what brought you to radiology?
Actually, it's kind of just happenstance. My uncle is a radiologist, and I went to school. My undergrad was biology, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with that. Mm-hmm. So there was a gap year, and then just kind of talking to my uncle kind of led me to it.
Okay, gotcha. So you are a radiology student, and you have 3 siblings. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah.
And your parents are separated?
Yep.
Cool. So you get to see your dad very often?
Every now and then. I mean, Twin Cities isn't that far away, and he travels quite a bit for work, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. Are you employed at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do you do?
I actually work for the imaging lab at the Weissman Center, the brain imaging lab.
Very nice. That sounds like a full plate.
I don't know. It's not too bad. Just lately, it's been extra busy. Finals coming up.
Yeah. How much do you usually work there?
Normally, I probably work there maybe 15, 20 hours a week, but this last week was really busy. One of the students who worked there actually finished up his program a little bit ahead of schedule, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So he's done, and the workload's kind of spread around until we find somebody to fill in for him.
Oh, okay. So you've been working a lot of extra hours?
Yeah, probably almost twice as much. I worked about 30 hours last week, I guess, and it's just bad timing. That and finals at the same time. It's stressful.
Yeah. Well, we definitely want you to be getting sleep. You mentioned that you weren't getting much sleep lately. What's been going on?
I've always kind of had just general difficulty getting to sleep. Mm-hmm. It's not that I don't know if it's that I don't sleep enough, but the hardest part is actually falling asleep for me, and especially the stress of finals coming up and extra workload, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So how much do you usually sleep, or how much is a good amount?
I probably normally like 6 to 7 hours a night,
Mhm.
so maybe just shy of the normal. I don't know.
Yeah, well, actually, a lot of people sleep anywhere from 7 to 10 hours a night for their normal. So 6 is pretty on the lower end of the spectrum. But if that feels comfortable for you, then we want to be getting at least that amount of sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
So lately, when you haven't been sleeping as well, how much would you say you've been getting?
I don't know if I've been getting less sleep. I just noticed it's been a lot harder to fall asleep.
Okay. So you've been having trouble sleeping, and you've been stressed out because of extra hours at work and because the finals week is coming up. Is it next week? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that sounds like a lot is going on. Other than the sleeplessness, have you had any other symptoms that you've noticed or things that you dislike?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, ever since high school, I've just kind of test taking is always kind of just, I don't know, been my arch enemy, I guess. I think I do well on all the coursework and stuff, and I just put tests up on this pedestal, or I don't actually know it. Unless I just over prepare to like the craziest extent, I just never feel like confident like going in, and so then I start to doubt myself, I get anxious, and it's not that I don't perform well. I mean, sometimes I get just totally acceptable grades, like even to me, it's just, I don't know. I'd be a lot nicer if I didn't have to like drive myself nuts about it.
Right. Do you feel like there's anyone besides yourself that puts pressure on you to reach these impossible standards?
I mean, I don't know. My parents aren't crazy like success driven people. Even when I was younger, they always on me to do my homework and stuff like that. It's probably mostly self motivated, I guess.
Yeah, sure. A lot of people put too much pressure on themselves. Do you feel like the pressure you put on yourself is helpful, or do you think it's kind of...
I mean, to an extent, but then there comes a point where it's not anymore. It's probably counterproductive.
Yeah, sure. And clearly right now it has been a little bit of an issue, right?
Yeah, lately.
Okay, well, I think that you're pointing out some things that are important that might be triggers for your anxiety, which is including, holding yourself to a really high standard, wanting to do everything perfectly. It sounds like you were saying that. So why don't we take a second to evaluate things that you do really well? Off the top of your head, what are you great at?
I don't know, great at anything, but I mean, I generally score well. Like, despite the anxiety, I generally score well. That's probably just because like the consummate over preparation that I do. I don't know. I mean, I got into grad school the first time I applied in the program that I chose. So that's good.
Yeah, that's really good.
I have generally good health. I don't know.
What do you like to do for fun?
I don't know. When I have time, generally, I want to do almost as little as possible. So, watch TV, read a book, spend some like casual time with friends. Just it's really busy right now. So anything that feels like a departure from that's what I want to do for fun.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, at least you know what you like, and that's the first step. So, I think it sounds like you're really great at keeping an eye on the ball and focusing on your schoolwork and your work responsibilities, and even perhaps seeing your family sometimes. It might be helpful for you if you worked in to your schedule time to just relax, right? And get that departure from the stress. If you're already, really oriented towards meeting certain requirements, it might help to just have a requirement, a baseline, minimum level amount of time that you put in towards just yourself, just doing things that you enjoy. Does that sound overwhelming?
I don't think it sounds overwhelming. I mean, maybe just this week, like find time to do anything besides work and school. It just seems unrealistic. But
Right.
Like, you're right. I mean, I've always been pretty lousy with scheduling anything but like 2 or 3 priorities is about all I can manage really well. Everything else just is kind of seems secondary.
Mm-hmm. Well, just throwing this out there, do you ever feel that your own happiness comes secondary?
I don't know, because I get reward out of like doing well and excelling. I mean, maybe not for me, maybe that everybody else knows that I do well. I don't know. It's fulfilling in that way. So I don't know if I put my happiness behind. I'm not sure. I don't know. I never thought about it.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you often score well, right? You typically do pretty well in school, and yet whenever these tests come up, you get really, really stressed out and can't sleep and have these other troublesome issues that have stalwarted you, that have brought you here today. So it makes me wonder if you really are getting the reward and the pleasure out of succeeding in these tests that you think you are, or that you want to get out of them.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe it's just that, like, I know that I'm looking forward to getting something out of them. So if I study and then I do poorly, not only do I do poorly, which doesn't jive with me, but also I don't get the satisfaction of doing well. Right. So maybe that's why I make it such. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's always been a big deal.
Yeah, I think satisfaction out of taking a great test is very real, and I think it's especially very real for you, and you should strive for that. I also think that there's other ways to get that reward that you desire, that you can control more. So reading a book or going for a walk or just taking a moment to watch a short episode of TV, those are things that you can control, that you can initiate and finish and take in that reward, and there's no other input deciding whether or not you enjoy it. So those are things that are equally important, because without them you can't do the things that you want to do that you have less control over. Do you see what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So would you be open to possibly meeting with another member of our staff to lay out a schedule of your weekly activities?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, sometimes when you have a visual aid, you can really see what you have going on. It kind of makes it feel a little bit more manageable, and you can really see the spaces where you can take time to do the things that you mentioned that you enjoy. So how does that sound? Does that sound?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good to me. I'm willing to try anything, so yeah.
Good. Well, great. Why don't we give that a try? This is obviously just our first session, but we'll see if it takes a step in the right direction. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
So we've talked today about a little bit about your family and what you like to do, and it sounds like your main issues right now are just dealing with the anxiety and the stress that comes from the outside factors of work and school, but that you inevitably kind of take it on yourself and kind of perpetuate it and make it even worse. So we'd like to work on channeling the things that you enjoy so that you can have more positive feelings and hopefully get some sleep and do really, really well on those tests that you want to do well on, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so does that sound like we've covered everything? Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and I will see you next week.
Yeah, thanks.